Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Northern Nerdcast. Brad, as usual, um, talking about the acquisitions and where we see the video game industry going. Obviously, this is not Clayton, who still doesn't have Discord, and Adam.
Awful.
It is awful. Like, come on, Clayton, get your shit together. We've got two guys from inside the game. We've got Drew Beausoleil and Scott Savage. I can't, Drew. I gotta leave that introduction. Nobody can do that Savage like you. So I'm not even gonna try.
I've had practice.
But thanks for coming on. And I mean, obviously, this has been some pretty big news over the past, since the Bethesda acquisition. Yeah. But it just seems like we keep rolling and I don't know. I keep checking Video Game Chronicles like every hour. Like, who did they buy anybody yet? Like, what's going on? Like, but yeah, it's been interesting to say the very least. And obviously, it's not a done deal yet for Microsoft. There's obviously something going on where FTC is involved doing a fine-tooth comb. But sure. I wanted to. I mean, obviously you guys have touched base with this on your show, but I mean, we can go a little bit more into detail because I don't have time constraints while you have to leave at 3:30. But what do you think the FTC really is trying to gain from this?
Well, it's honestly, I think it just comes down to the size of the purchase. They have to step in and take a look at it, right? It's $70 billion nearly. Like, that's not just a $1 billion. Like, remember when you saw Bethesda get purchased for 7.5, you thought, wow, that is a ton of money. And what a studio and what an acquisition that was. Bringing along with, Machine Games, Arcane, and Obsidian, like so many other companies now rolled into Xbox. And then they stepped that up to 68.7 billion. Like that's a huge move. So you're going to raise some eyebrows. You're going to turn some heads. I think that's honestly just comes down to the size of the purchase and the fact that it's Activision. So for that, they're doing their due diligence, I think, by having them step in and make sure they're not going to be, stepping into places and monopolizing. I think everybody's worried right now with the monopoly opportunity that this could kind of entail at the grand scheme of things. But I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. I think it has less to do with the effect on the gaming scape as a general, and I think it is just about the actual number value of the deal. And I think the FTC, well, that is their job. So I'm not sure if there's necessarily anything suspect just based on their initial findings. But of course, that'll all come out in the wash. But I'm thinking, they have to make sure that somebody high up isn't just taking $1 billion and getting out, because that's not what the deal is supposed to be about. But it's that much money. It would be easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy,
Bobby.
It'd be easy to lose that amount of money, which is insane to say. But
yeah, and then obviously, at first it seemed like a knee-jerk reaction. Everyone was like, "Oh, Sony bought Bungie," and it's just in response to the acquisition. And it's like, you can't. And this is what I was telling Clayton, because he had mentioned, and like, not being a dick to him, like I just said, like, you can't physically buy a company here 2 weeks after an acquisition. Here's $3.6 billion. We own you now. Like, and like Jim Ryan said, this has been in the process for 4 to 6 months. And we can expect more acquisitions. Now, I had shared a tweet with you, Drew, that somebody had said that apparently a European studio was next on the chopping block for Sony. That opens up a lot of potential because, I mean, there's a lot of good European developers. And then the code word was France. So right away, to me, that's Ubisoft, France.
I don't see it. No, I don't see it either. Right. When I think Ubisoft, France, I guess, is one place I often go to Montreal, mostly because we've been there. But that's the big thing. Ubisoft's too big. Like, Ubisoft to me would be like PlayStation stepping up and buying Activision instead of Xbox. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how big Ubisoft is. Ubisoft has something like 27 studios. Like, that's a big purchase. So you're gonna have to be up there around 70 billion again. Right there with Microsoft's purchase to meet those demands, right? And you're not going to get that. I don't think Ubisoft has any intention of selling. They just got independence from Vivendi, right? That was a huge battle, a court case that went on forever. Mm-hmm. And they finally, Yves Guillemot got out of that finally. So why would they then want to give it to PlayStation? They don't, man. They're rocking right now as it is. Yeah, we often question, especially on the show, we always talk about, Scott and I talk about, yo, where's Skull and Bones? Where's Beyond Good and Evil 2? Right? Like there's so many things that they have in development right now, and they have the ups and downs of the development hell going on. But at the same time, yo, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla crushed it. You want to give that up to PlayStation? Not likely.
Oh, Far Cry 6, I think, was a little bit lukewarm in terms of sales, but sure. I would consider that still a strong entry. There's not any sort of need for concern, maybe in the same way that I jokingly say, well, is DICE going to be bought next? And I throw these jokes out there just because it's hard to say it's impossible now after the scale of the Activision Blizzard takeover. And my first joke, which remains a joke, was, okay, well, is Sony gonna buy a Nintendo and get back together into full form?
The Nintendo PlayStation, or the Nintendo PlayStation. That
how funny would it be if they went back to cartridges after 20 years? You know what? You were right.
Well, Xbox brought back the memory card, like, so that we're almost there.
True.
And then you make a joke about that, but just remember at one point, before Microsoft and Sony were even in, it was Nintendo and Sega. And I mean, Sega doesn't do systems anymore, unfortunately. Like, I mean, what was the last one? Dreamcast. And like,
did any of us have a Dreamcast?
I have two.
Oh, nice.
Not because I'd ever play them. Just one came completely boxed up with two controllers and everything, and the other one I got at a good deal at my expo. So hey, why not? But like, I mean, obviously anything now I see as fair game. Like, nobody ever thought Activision, well, I mean, not nobody, but like, nobody besides Microsoft, maybe Amazon could go and be like, here's $70 billion. We'd like to enter negotiations with you. I mean, Sega, like they're, I mean, I don't really know what they're valued at right now, but I mean, imagine Sony scooped up Sega. No one ever thought that could happen, but
Sega recently, something like they invested I can't remember, Scott, was it 68 or 86 million? I think it was $86 million into the future of their company, right?
Yeah.
So like, now that's only the millions when you think of what Xbox just did in the billions, but you come in at $86 million, like that's a head-on challenge right there for yourself to go, okay, we need to get this up and running and not kind of pass it off to somebody else. Unless they're in hot water right now, like, honestly, what's Sega really up to? So maybe PlayStation sweeps in and gets them. I don't know. You
actually reminded me of something, because people are worried about the monopoly. I saw that kind of being answered with, well, nobody had these concerns when Sony had the deal of the century and they bought Insomniac for however million. But it was
peanuts compared to what it is now.
Yeah. Well, nobody had those concerns then, but well, that gets into a whole broader topic, which is the console wars, and I think you are just about as passionate as I am about those. So perhaps we should steer away from that for now, or
I was telling Drew, like when I was having my issues with well, I told you this as well, like with the whole damaged Xbox controller, I had tweeted it to Walmart, like their customer service is a joke, and then somebody comments, PS is better. It's like, you're not even getting me upset. Like, I own both systems, and that's not even what this is about. This is about a poor customer service not answering. It's not, but somebody had to bring console wars to an issue that had nothing. Well, ratio. I don't even know what ratio is, but hey, whatever. But I mean, like, it's just, anyways. Yeah, let's stay away from console wars.
I think that response, to simplify it, is what happens when humans become NPCs.
It's true. But anyway, like getting away from console wars, because like that could be a whole episode. Like everybody's, so like with all these purchases going on, obviously like Adam is like Spenny McGee, not your Adam, but he's a really big Nintendo guy, and a lot of no, not at all. but like, what if anything do you think Nintendo's going to do? They've already said that they have no interest in acquiring studios and they want to grow organically. There's only so much growing you can do organically. They're running out of ports to bring over to the Switch. You have to start new stuff. Like they had some really good titles. Like they had Metroid Dread. I haven't played it, but it was nominated for Game of the Year. I know Scott, you really enjoyed it. But there's like literally every game that I have from the Switch was ported from the Wii U. So you at some point
that's something that had disappointed me. But we have Metroid Prime 4. There's never going to be another F-Zero, but they have a lot of these dormant IPs they could tap into. I've heard Nintendo specifically mention that they don't want to bring in another company that doesn't have what they call Nintendo DNA. And I can see the strategy behind that, because if you just start having all these kind of other things that don't fit in with what the Switch is doing, they're not really going to sell to anyone, and you're missing your target audience. So that makes sense. But if Nintendo was going to acquire somebody, I think Sega actually would work out.
Probably. I think that's a good point, Scott. I think the Sega is their best match. But Nintendo is always I think will always be just Nintendo. They're off doing their own thing. They have their core audience that sticks with them. Then they have the outside audience like myself and Scott and yourself, Brad, where we kind of tap in, get a cool experience every now and then bounce out to our other consoles or PC or whatever, right? So we're not there as our main platform. The Switch is my go-to platform for Nintendo first-party titles, and that is it, right? I'm not going to play any of my third-party dude. They talked about bringing Dying Light 2 onto this. You're not going to get Dying Light 2 on this console. Are you kidding?
They can barely run Dying Light.
Well, that's just it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Nintendo right now with the Switch is so far behind in times. Like, when they launched, they're already behind PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, they were like PS3 graphics.
Exactly. And now we're into Series X and the PS5. So, like, when are we getting the next level of Nintendo?
Super Switch.
Scott keeps going for the Super Switch, but maybe someday, right? Like, they need to do something soon, but they gotta pull in other studios.
It'll more likely be the new Switch XL Plus, Switch U
with 3D option.
Hey, you know what? I could get behind that.
That slider was actually pretty cool. I enjoyed it. But the problem is, if you only stick with what you have, you're seeing everybody else right now get gobbled up. Every other developer, Bungie just got purchased by PlayStation, right? Xbox made the biggest deal of a lifetime by the looks of things. And plus, they had Bethesda in their back pocket as well that they pulled in not too long ago. Like, there's three massive companies.
And they're not done.
PlayStation says they're still not done. They're still looking to purchase more. Who do they sweep in for next? Man, we can speculate this all day. I have no idea.
Well, Clayton wants our speculations, but what I'll say about Nintendo is their last acquisition was the studio that made Luigi's Mansion 3 Next Level Games out of BC. Yeah. That was their last major acquisition. And again, you guys go to Nintendo for your first party. I use the Switch for role playing because I'm at the point now where I don't want to sit in front of my TV and play an RPG. If it's available on the Switch and the other systems, I'll get it on the Switch because I can take it on the go. For me, I want to play my PS5. I want to be immersed. Like, I don't want to have to keep grinding levels. Like, Uncharted just finished uploading, so I've never played Lost Legacy. I'm really looking forward to playing it. They say it's the best Uncharted. I don't know. I can't say yes or no because I haven't played it yet. But that's how Ghost of Tsushima. Like, these games, I want to be able to invest my time in, and that's why I'll use Switch for everything else. But like, what do you speculate? I mean, because we could name off any studio, but realistically, because I don't think Take-Two is on the table anymore. I think it's slightly above Sony's. Because everyone keeps saying Take-Two. Like, no, it's not going to happen.
No. Are you kidding? Take-Two. Hello? GTA 5 makes so much damn money.
Yep.
They couldn't afford to buy GTA alone, never mind Take-Two.
No, right? I feel like Take-Two may come out with its own Stadia service or a console before they are bought.
Yeah.
They're going to come out with a Grand Theft Auto 5 system to see you never have to upgrade it again. You just buy it once.
But it backups as a fridge.
Actually, you know what? Soulja Boy will probably make a Grand Theft Auto system.
Oh, man, Okay, get back to your question because we could definitely.
Okay, speculation. Who do you think that Sony is eyeing? Like, again, there's obviously budget is a big thing, but you have Square Enix that's valued probably around $7 billion. I would say. Ubisoft is probably around what, 12?
I think Ubisoft is not even an option. I don't think Take-Two is even there as well. If you're looking at anybody, Square Enix, there's potential. I don't think they'll do it.
No, I think Square is already basically like into the Step family. They're already first party just about.
Yeah, they're more like second party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did Quantic Dream get purchased by PlayStation?
No, remember. That's why I was going to say my prediction is going to be either like way out in left field. I would say Ubisoft, but I would say if it's a European studio and if it's France, then Quantic Dreams, which could like imagine Star Wars Eclipse is on only on Sony.
Well, here's the thing. They've been second party this whole time, right? You figure Heavy Rain only on PlayStation. Detroit Become Human, PlayStation. Like everything's been PlayStation based.
Quantum Break, I think, was the
Quantum Break came out of Remedy for Xbox.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
but
Dream is a whole company. I think that's one, or maybe Konami. Please get Metal Gear back.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I mean, also, like I had shared that screenshot. Crytek announces Crysis 4, but not on any systems. Like that to me, that maybe I'm overthinking it, but usually when you're announcing a game, you're saying, hey, it's going to be on these systems. Nothing. No, there was nothing mentioned. Just Crysis 4. That's it.
Yeah. It means they have an open checkbook ready to be signed.
Yeah.
But then
possibly.
Then you get into potential CDPR, Remedy, or is Remedy Xbox? I don't know.
Remedy's Xbox.
Okay, so not Remedy, but like not like a massive studio, but I mean, even if speculate or imagine The Witcher goes exclusive.
Man, CD Projekt Red, do you think they're gonna really buy them? Like that's one heck of a move too. If you can only get the next Witcher, mind you, coming off of Cyberpunk, I don't know if that really has any weight anymore behind it like it did.
Yeah.
IO
Interactive. Like a Hitman goes, I can't see it, but 007.
No. Hitman would have IO would have a very high price tag. Where I think CDPR and DICE, their price has significantly dropped over the last year. We'll say
DICE is
much more acquirable. Yeah, DICE is in some sort of trouble, and it's a mystery to me, but.
Well, absolutely. They have one of the biggest IPs in our industry as far as the shooter goes, right? You always had Call of Duty, you have Battlefield. When then Battlefield 2042 drops and it goes flat on their face, and DICE is like, oh, okay, well, now we have to go pick up all the pieces again. Like, man, oh, man. Well, like, what a freaking screw up that is. And it's so unfortunate because so many people stand behind that franchise and absolutely adore it. Our good buddy Kyle, huge fan of Battlefield. Scott alone, huge fan of Battlefield. And neither one of them have it on the console now.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous, guys. Like, how do you blow this up out of, if anything, you're supposed to build that hype and have it come out and just knock it out of the park. And instead, you put a foul ball behind you. Like, it's
with
just
DICE,
ridiculous.
Specifically with Battlefield, it really hurts me because if DICE had come out with, say, a third person RPG, then it would be much more forgivable in my eyes. But for the last 1,000 years, DICE has worked on Battlefield. So
yeah.
How do you, as I put it yesterday, I believe, how do you push that out the door without checking the checklist? And on that checklist, there's scoreboard, voice chat, name it.
And then you leave it off going into your latest version of the game, which has been something that's always been there. It doesn't make any sense, right?
No.
To me, that's a shareholder's investment that has to get out the door. And that's just EA. I'm questioning EA right now. Honestly, I don't think EA would sell, but if PlayStation could scoop up EA, like FIFA makes so much money. Like honestly, FIFA is their biggest IP, and it makes a ton of money. But if they could sweep in and get that, they've got one heck of a library behind them, and they can revitalize a ton of stuff. But honestly, I think it's Quantic Dream would be a smart purchase. Or like I said, Konami. Dude, Konami's not doing anything except sitting on their IPs, right? Castlevania, nothing. Metal Gear Solid, nowhere to be found. You'll never get that out the door again unless somebody buys them. Unless they want to put out another Metal Gear Survive, and nobody wants that.
Or the Death Stranding too.
Well, somebody could offer, the problem is nobody could offer Kojima enough money to work for anybody. But that would free up a lot of, creativity power. So that would be a good, worthwhile grab, even if you can't touch Metal Gear. But one that I've thought about a lot, or I've seen being discussed, and that's Capcom.
Yeah.
Now, Are they too big? Is anybody too big? Is still what I'm thinking. But
does anybody remember, little side tangent, does anybody remember the trailer Deep out of Capcom?
No.
I very vaguely.
Oh man, it looks so cool. It was like this Dark Souls feel, and you were fighting a dragon when it ended, and it looked incredible, and then it fell off the face of the earth. But that was out of Capcom. And do they purchase them? Man, I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I got my 2 picks. That's my choice.
Or does Sony go for the lesser? And I say with exclamation marks, the lesser studios, like say they pick up Quantic Dream, CDPR, and FromSoft. Like it's hard to say it. Like there's
software,
just
though is with Capcom, right?
No, they're their own studio.
Bandai.
That's they publish. Bandai publishes their games, but it's they do their own thing. But Adam just sent me a message. He said, "My major point." Okay, I got to read it like this. My major point is that this isn't about future IPs as much as cementing in previous year's titles for streaming services and taking control of past IPs.
Okay, that has a lot of. I can see that in the case of buying up Konami, for example. That would be a great one because then you have these IPs that are super dormant. A lot of the stuff that I wish Nintendo would do, pull these things out of the vault, and even if it's on a streaming service, if it's a remaster, there's still huge value there.
They got to get away from remasters too. Like we're getting a third Last of Us. Like, come on.
There's a few that I would buy in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'll buy the Last of Us again.
Talk about it. Any Metal Gear you want, literally any Metal Gear. You put that on new consoles. Oh boy, I would buy it for 100.
Seriously, they could remake Metal Gear 1. Oh man, like there's a generational gap behind that game. Honestly, PlayStation needs to buy Konami. They just need to, and then revitalize that.
Silent Hill,
dude. They own Blue Point, right? Give it to Blue Point. Let them remake all the Metal Gear franchises, right? All the games from 1 all the way up into 5. I know 5 you can play it on right now. You can play it on next-gen consoles. However, by the time you get to 5, we'll be on to PlayStation 6, right? So if they can work on at least bringing back the first 3, man, what a stepping point. I'd honestly bypass Raiden myself. I'm not a big fan of Raiden or whatever you want. But either way, still, Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear Solid.
Revengeance was fun.
I grew up.
I liked it.
Identifying with Raiden because I've always been the long blonde-haired kid. I do really like Raiden, but no, Brad, I have to ask you: do you have a remaster that you would accept, like without question?
Honestly, The Last of Us.
Oh, dude, you just gave it shit that is coming, and now you're like,
I said I'd buy it. Like that's like. Imagine, okay, you're playing on PS5. It's got the upgraded graphics, and you're going up against the Rat King, and it's all haptic feedback. Like you're in that ambulance, and you just feel like the T-Rex stomps, and it's like I know it's coming, but I'm scared shitless. Like, when I'm playing Ghosts, like you're in the rain, like you can feel the rain vibrating on your controller.
That's what I heard from Drew about Returnal, and that is mind-blowing. I really want to experience that. I do not have a PlayStation, and I'm not aware of anybody I could fight in a parking lot to get one from, so it'll be a while before I'm in, but that haptic feedback, man, that's innovation.
It's honestly, that's taking the controller to the next level. When they added Rumble, you know, that was cool, man. Oh, got shot. All right, nice. Now what, right? Years go by without really any iteration upon that. All of a sudden, now we get into PS5. Even Xbox is looking at this thing going, damn, that's a great idea.
I've seen a lot of people say Xbox cannot do that. And
yes,
I don't trust that at all. Yeah, if Nintendo can throw $1 kajillion into making something, and they've paved the way, I'm sure Xbox could find a way
the marbles.
Yeah, that's the one. How many dice are in your hand? But they made it, actually.
Nintendo literally took cardboard and turned it into a video game.
Oh, man. VR headset and cardboard.
But
you talk
I was really hoping the Oculus could just plug into my Xbox eventually, but we are not yet in the year 3.
One game actually, it was the first two that I would love to see. Now, it would be on Xbox only because I mean they own Bethesda. They own I don't. Is In Exile still around, or did they get?
Yep. Nope.
Okay.
They're still around.
Fallout 1 and 2.
Oh, that's a solid
the original,
one.
Like the top down.
Yeah, but done because Fallout New Vegas kind of took the first two, like, because they continued the story per se from the originals. Yep. There's characters from 2 that are in it, but like even like do like kind of a hybrid where it's a tactical game or tactical role-playing game with first-person elements. I think that would be amazing. I don't know how it would be done, but I think they like if anyone could do it, it'd be Bethesda. Like your Fallout is a huge series, so is obviously Elder Scrolls, but even getting the first couple Elder Scrolls back, like 1 and 2 that were like the old school first person on computer.
I've never seen 1 and 2. I think 2 is Daggerfall.
Daggerfall.
Yeah, I've started with Morrowind. I think I was under 10 years old when we got that game, though. But that modernized and brought forward, that would be a good remaster. If they're going to remaster Skyrim for the 5th time, then I think they could fit that into the budget.
Or Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sorry, go ahead. Brad? No, go ahead.
I'd like the Ezio trilogy remastered.
That's very. I think that's a little bit of a cheat there, saying it's the Ezio trilogy. But
I'm talking about Assassin's Creed. Yeah, 2, right? Revelations, Brotherhood. The 3 of those need to be redone and brought to next gen. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. As of late, it's been really a big twist in how the whole fundamentals of the game works. But going back to the original, too, with Desmond and then Ezio, man, they brought the Ezio trilogy over to PS4. But even then, I'm like, man, I want the brand new graphics like this. I want a remake, not a remaster of this thing, and step it up to the latest and give me that haptic feedback from a PS5.
Yeah, like I still remember when you're playing the very first Assassin that series, but Assassin's Creed 2 when Eden talks to you and it's like Desmond, and then you hear Desmond, he's like, what the fuck? And Ezio's like, who is Desmond? It's like, oh my god, that was awesome.
They speak to you, but they're speaking through you to get to Desmond. It's like, that was a really cool moment. I remember that.
That was because the first one was okay, but it was just and I mean, again, you talk about Mafia 3 suffers from the same thing that one was. Like, it's just go here, do this, go here, do this. But like, where do you see, like, obviously cloud gaming, streaming is taking hold. This is not my own thing. I was actually listening to the PS5 Central podcast earlier. Are you guys wrestling fans? Like no. 2000s?
No.
Okay. Anyways, so they use this analogy about, well, you have to know who John Cena is.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so anyways,
never seen the man, but I've heard all about him.
So they were talking about Project Spartacus, but they tied it into wrestling, and so in 2005 there was this whole brand thing. They had 2 champions on one show now, and they brought out another belt, but you never saw it. And then all of a sudden they pulled this bait and switch, and one of the champions went to the other show. They were saying that what if Project Spartacus is not actually Project Spartacus and it's Game Pass? Like, imagine. Like, this whole time they're talking about Project Spartacus and we don't even get to see what it is.
That's funny because if you think back all the way to 2019, there was that picture and stories coming out. Will Nintendo be on Game Pass, or will Game Pass be on Nintendo? And it was considered back then, although far-fetched, but it has been a few years on now, and nobody knows much about Spartacus, as far as I've heard. Other than the name, I haven't.
Drew, you have your ear to the ground. What do you know?
Very little, to be honest. Not much has been said. Not much has been even rumored. We all know that Spartacus is in development. Sounds, from what I've heard, it's a combination of PlayStation Now and Game Pass kind of thing for PlayStation, right? They're going to combine it. I think that's the smartest move. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah, they got to do something, obviously, to compete with Xbox. When Xbox first launched Game Pass, PlayStation's Jim Ryan was like, oh, this is not a good model. This won't work.
I remember that.
We've seen that it clearly works, right? It's driving in numbers and massive numbers, 25 million users every month. Like that's not a small feat. That's a huge number to have there. And then we always talk about in the show is they no longer care about Xbox. They care about Game Pass, right? Xbox wants you to know what Game Pass is because then you're able to play it wherever you want on the cloud, on your computer, on your phone, on your Xbox, whatever it is. They want you to be entwined in that monthly subscription service.
Yeah,
there's a reason why you can only buy it, I think, for like 3 months at a time.
Yeah, I would buy the year. Like I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't. Well, like when it first came out, I thought it was really dumb. I'm like, oh, Netflix for games. But like the more you play it, dude, awesome. the only people that don't think Game Pass is worthwhile are the ones that are the casual gamer. I mean, sure. if you're gonna pay $50 for 3 months and you're not gonna play a game like on it, then you're wasting your money. Go and buy Call of Duty for $79 on PlayStation, and because it'll be coming to Game Pass. But like my daughter, I have the S set up in her room right now because that was the agreement. I can't sully my games room with an Xbox. but no, like
guys got 2 Dreamcasts behind him.
Exactly, and a fake plant. but like she goes and we'll pick something. Like we played, oh my god, like it was a bad game, but golf with your friends, no, that was garbage. That was the worst mini golf game I've ever played. But
I was curious to talk to you about that one because I thought terrible. It was pretty all right.
I thought it was terrible. Like, anyways, like her and her sisters can go and they can, within their age group, they can go and find games, which is phenomenal. Like it's well worth the value. I mean, it's obviously it's better getting 3 months than paying 16 or 17 for the month for 1 month. But I mean, that being said, like I like the concept of PlayStation Now, but it was 95% of it was strictly cloud. If you had a crappy internet connection, you were not able to play the games, and that's one of the complaints they had. The games that were on it. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with Game Pass, you can download it, or you could but I for some reason I find that the cloud system connects better on the Xbox than it does on the PlayStation. And they were both set up in the basement, but my PlayStation connection, like my game would drop. Xbox, no issues at all.
Yeah, I've been playing Mortal Kombat 11 over cloud, and you would expect that to have some problems, and it has had a little bit of hiccup, but for the most part, probably 90% of it works just fine. But we're talking about subscription services now, and it's got me thinking about Stadia, the one that is all too forgotten. But are they immune to being bought?
No, not
capacity. What if PlayStation came along, just for example, came along and just brought them over to the system, like Discord?
Yeah, man, I never really thought of that, Scott, because Google's so big, right? You don't think of Google getting purchased by anybody. That's the thing. It's under Google. I think Google would rather shut them down than actually sell it off to somebody else.
Well, I think it's not much of a dollar amount that they could accept to get rid of it. It's more, if they chose to sell it, it would be just out of stagnation. I don't think they've done a lot shutting down any first-party studios. Jade Raymond has left. So there's a whole lot of reasons why they may just pass off a creative idea to somebody else, maybe, that could see it through further.
Well,
I don't want to see that, but
I love Stadia. I'm still a fan of Stadia. I was just playing Stadia the other day, and it works. I think out of all the streaming platforms, Stadia is my go-to platform. I think it works way better than Xbox, the xCloud. I think that works much better than that. I've dabbled in PlayStation Now. It works better than that. Like, it just, for me, when I play, I don't have any issues. Every once in a while, there might be a little something. I tried playing MLB The Show with Kyle the other day on xCloud. Dude, that I couldn't. Not a chance. Not a chance of playing that game. I played Outriders with Nate on there. I'm like, all right, it worked. Like, we could play. It worked, but graphically, it looked horrible. It looked like I was playing 720, and then I get the odd stutter. Stadia doesn't do that. Dude, Stadia just works for me.
I've had another thought regarding Stadia. The nomenclature of Stadia and Spartacus is quite similar, almost along the same language.
Well, problem with Stadia, Scott, is there's no first party studio, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Why do you want to go over onto a platform where I've got everything else already on PlayStation or on Xbox, plus their exclusives? So now you want me to pay over on another platform where most of my friends aren't there in the first place. So you're trying to find how to get drawn over there. And I think that's Stadia's biggest problem now is they got to be able to pull in some exclusives. Like, what was the one we played? Guilt?
Yeah,
right?
That's the one that comes to mind all the time. Maybe a smaller acquisition. Who made Guilt? Do you remember the name of the? It's escaping me. It's close.
Yeah.
Though.
No. Now you've done it, Scott. I gotta look it up.
Sorry, I'm just reading something. I'll talk about it in a sec. Go ahead, Drew. Sorry.
I have a good excuse as to why I can't remember what the title of their company was, but
yeah, whatever. Tequila Works. That's who it was. I know who it is. Yeah.
I was thinking Tequila Time, but that's just
You're close.
That was in one video game.
That's just 5 o'clock. Yeah, no, it's the biggest thing for me is that Stadia lacks a first party draw, right? And that's because when you go to Xbox, look at all their first party studios, especially as of late, right? You look at PlayStation, there's only certain games you're going to get over there. You're only going to get Spider-Man on PlayStation, right? You got Horizon over there, which now they're starting to branch out into the world of PC. So you're getting Horizon Zero Dawn now on PC. Horizon Forbidden West, though, is only on PlayStation 5. God of War just made its way over to PC. So they're starting to branch out a little bit. But if you don't have...
Days Gone.
Days Gone was a great... Yeah, Last of Us. Scott's waiting for The Last of Us to come over. Maybe, dude, when we get the remastered The Last of Us, I wouldn't be surprised to see to go to PC as well, right? I think it makes a lot of sense.
That'll be a happy day in Scott Town.
So, going back briefly about the Switch, like you talked about MLB, like, okay, it's cool, it's going on the Switch, but I see so many Adam Svenny McGee picks it up and wants to play with everybody else, and like lagging or like whatever. It's just, you talk about like Dying Light 2, which looks amazing. It looks like it pushes graphic boundaries, but then it goes to the Switch cloud, which I don't really know much about Switch Online. We have the account, but I don't use it. It's just I don't know. But I mean, I'm reading one of the biggest complaints, and this actually really surprised me about that maybe it can run properly on the Switch is the output for Dying Light right now is at 1080p 60 FPS. That is terrible. And that's the major complaint. And they say it's buggier. People are saying that it's having a buggier launch than Cyberpunk, which says a lot.
Oh,
well, yeah, we didn't get to it today in today's Daily Show, but there's a list of fixes and things like that for the
over
game.
1,000.
Then why are you launching your game? That's what I don't. If you see all those bugs, because you know those bugs are there, the minute you launch, like, I'd love to talk to the developers behind the scenes to say, hey, if this is launching with 1,000 bugs, why are you guys doing that?
Yeah,
what's making you go hit the button?
Did somebody just not show their homework right until the very gold?
Wasn't this delayed since 2020? Wasn't it supposed to come out in 2020?
It's been delayed for a long time. Absolutely, it's seen one delay after another, and everybody I've heard, because we weren't able to get a copy of the game, did enjoy the gameplay. The story fell flat, and there are 1,000 bugs, like you're talking about, right? And that's the problem, to the point where people are going, I don't even know who this customer is, who this person is, the AI companion, because their dialogue doesn't have the voiceover connected to it. It just is broken. So by the time they wrap up the game, they're like, I don't know who you are. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you didn't say one word to me that entire experience. And it's just like, man, how do you miss that? Like, you've just lost having the gravitas of a launch, right? The biggest moment for your game is launch day. You got to come out swinging and crush it. Otherwise, you've seen the ramifications of what happens when it doesn't work that way, right? Look at Cyberpunk getting pulled right from the PlayStation Store. One of the biggest games I've ever seen just get fumbled by what I had as a high praise studio.
I think that was the only game to ever be pulled, if I recall. Unless you count Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, that got pulled.
That's because of the hot chocolate, though.
Yeah.
remember
the hot coffee mod.
The hot coffee, the hot chocolate, hot coffee. Dude, that was funny.
But I mean, like, it's like for streaming purposes, like again, Dying Light, they couldn't keep up with the demand. Like they said they would get 25 messages around every hour. Hey, we're looking for keys. I tried. I mean, who am I really? Like, I'm literally I'm a nobody, and they're probably like, oh, he just wants a free game. I'm so glad that I didn't even get a free game, because if it's that buggy where I saw one of the videos, I saw someone running through the streets and all of a sudden they fall through the world. Like, and then you look up, same with Cyberpunk, you see the world disappearing on you. Like, thanks.
That's too bad.
Thanks for saving me the anguish of installing it on my computer.
And here's the big man. Here's the thing, right? Techland has been showing the support for Dying Light 1 for so long.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
some say the first battle royale.
Well, it's been around now for over 5 years, and they're still pushing content to that game. Every time I look around, there's another piece of Dying Light content. I'm like, man, where's the second one? And here the second one launches. I'm like, okay, they're going to support it now. Who knows for how long? There's already 500 hours worth of content in the game if you want to go do absolutely everything. Like, man, like they have a hardcore audience. And I guarantee you right now, because they have launched, and it is, it launches tomorrow. Not today. It hasn't launched yet. So it launches tomorrow. But when the fans start playing this and start hitting them and blasting them on social media, that's not a good feeling to get, right?
No.
You want people to go, damn, I love your game. Your game is fantastic. This, that. I love doing this. And next thing you know, dude, there's Let's Plays, there's live streams, there are, photo mode pictures going up, whatever they can do to get into this game. And they praise Techland for the success. Instead, now, what are you going to get? Another Cyberpunk issue going? Man, your game is broken. I want my money back.
It's so tragic in this case, because if it does truly fall flat on its face, there's quite a lot of reasons you could point to as to why there's all these bugs. Did we need 500 hours of content? And there's already a lot of topic debate of that, but that at the expense of a fully functioning, completely baked game, like I feel like one is more important than the other.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's sad. And sorry, another thing that I'm reading is it says that it's like you said, Drew, like the voices don't match up with the characters, but not only that, the like talking about bad dubbing, like they said the game will freeze for a certain like a couple seconds, and then your character moves on, but they're still talking. So like that is Cyberpunk right there, because that's what happened in Cyberpunk.
That's just lack of polish, right? Is that another 6 months? I don't know. Is it another year? It could be. But like, good point though, Scott. You don't need 500 hours in your game. Here's the thing. This is the day and age of the internet. You can constantly update. You've been doing it for Dying Light 1. Yeah. So why don't you put 100 hours into the game, get it polished as can be, you crush launch day, and say, hey, here's our roadmap, right? Next piece of content, another 30 hours. Like, you're welcome, sort of thing. And they are waiting on hand and foot, bated breath, waiting for that next piece of content. And your game just keeps carrying. Sometimes, you know what? It's not that hard. It just takes the time. I'm not a game developer, so I get that part's hard.
Yeah.
Look what they've done with Destiny. It came out and I mean, there's a million. Take your pick. Battlefront. They've come out with a kind of a lackluster amount of content and get criticized for it. I don't think that's the right move. But surely there's some middle ground where it is completely, polished, ready to go. And then 6 months, a year later, here's co-op mode. I just thought of that as I was saying it. And, in the case of Halo, I'm not very happy about that.
Well, that's the other part, right? We saw that today, how they've delayed that again. Forge mode delayed. Co-op is delayed. Like, man, Halo's always had a co-op feature. And then it launched this year, and people were like, it was in our review. It was in everybody's review of there's no co-op mode. It would have been so much better if that co-op mode experience was there. And it really lacks some of these features that we all get kind of accustomed to. And when it doesn't drop with that, maybe like, man, so now what? When it does get dropped with co-op mode, great, Scott's going to do it. I'm not. I'm done. I'm done.
I have to mention that my future with Halo Infinite. It's going to be, Nate and I will have to play it. We are going to sit down and play co-op. I know we will. And that's mainly because of his reaction to Halo 5. When he realized that, well, first of all, he peeled open his collector's edition and it was just a card with a code on it. That's disappointing. But that was kind of indicative of what the future of that was going to be. He discovered that there was no split screen, and we were not going to play co-op that day. And I've never seen the man so angry. And I've thought of that. That's just been on repeat every time I go and think of Infinite. You know, we're going to play it. It's going to be good. But I think I'm going to spend the first 10 minutes being mad about it with him.
But see, the thing, like the thing with the whole internet age and streaming and everything is, and again, going back to, I got to go back to Dying Light. Like I'm just reading the tweets right now. Like they're proudly touting that people will be streaming their game tonight. How many people are going to be streaming this game with bugs? And like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's too little, too late. Like you can't pull the game. You've already given codes to people. Now you have to ride it through, and you're gonna have to listen to the angry people. Like, but I mean, it's just right? it is because like I'm like you, Drew. I'm not a huge fan of like zombie style games. Like I heard the parkour is better than Mirror's Edge, is what a lot of people are saying, and Mirror's Edge's parkour was amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very skeptical about that till I see it.
But now you've got this game that is content creators that have gotten keys are going to be streaming to say whether or not to pick up this game tomorrow. I see a lot of orders being canceled or saying, hey, I want my money back until this is fixed. And I really do see another Cyberpunk issue with this game. This is Cyberpunk of 2022. That's my prediction. This is going to be probably the worst launch for a game for the year.
They've done themselves a disservice by promising too much. That's the same thing that Cyberpunk was, just fell apart over because it fell on its own sword. It's going to be this good. It's going to have all these features, and then it just couldn't deliver. I don't know if that's true with Dying Light, but if it is, it's because they've been pushing this 500 hours of gameplay as if it's going to be the saving grace, even though you're not going to get through 5 hours of it if it's got bugs. It makes me think of, well, I won't name names, but specifically the No Man's Sky development and how that came out, and it promised way too much, and it could not live up to it, and that's just we should have learned our lesson then. It's doubly learned with CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, and but it's still happening. That's the biggest thing, right?
Learned. Yeah.
So it's no, go ahead.
It's still happening, but look where No Man's Sky is now. Like whoever is into that community is really involved. Sean Murray and the team over at Hello Games have really turned that game around. It is now one of the biggest staples around when it comes to an online service game, and it's incredible. I've yet to go back to it. I'm kind of debating. Sometimes I'm looking for that bit of a grinding experience, and it's definitely that. It has that feel. But my brother's put like hundreds of hours in this game. I know so many people have, and now from where it launched to where it is now, it's a completely different game.
I cannot look at it because I'm sworn to one giant space game, and it is not Star Citizen. It is Elite Dangerous, and because of that, I can't see any sort of Elite Dangerous. You're going through the galaxy on your own terms, make your own story. I can't go and play another one. There's only one in there for me. It missed the opportunity because of its launch. That's really the shame.
So getting back to the whole thing about like acquisitions and whatnot, but what does Sony have to do? Like, what does Spartacus, if it ever sees the light of day, do? Like, how do they compete with Game Pass? Like, what do they need to do? What do you think they need to do?
I don't think they really need to do much, but follow their own formula, right? Microsoft is kind of laid out the roadbed for them. And if they just do the same thing and go, hey, you want Horizon Forbidden West? Get on Spartacus. Day one, drop, done, right? Yeah. Spider-Man, God of War. They have some of the biggest and most incredible first-party studios around when it comes to storytelling. The Last of Us, right? You get it there. Then you incentivize it with other perks of, well, if you play it here, then you get this reward, or you get that kind of reward. You get, a new cosmetic item or something along that line to showcase your support for PlayStation, your support for their Game Pass Spartacus involvement.
I just realized what that reward is going to be. You know what it's going to be. Here's a trophy NFT.
Oh, I was waiting for it, Scott. I was waiting for it.
Well, I mean, in that scenario, though, as a reward, that is the most sensical use that I've heard or thought of so far.
Yeah, I think that's what they have to do. I think they just got to be able to showcase their games day one as well, right? And then bring in other third parties. Now, third parties seem to be dying off, but if they can form a partnership with Ubisoft, Capcom, whoever else they want to line up with, right? And just have that service be comparable. They're going to have some catching up to do. What can they do differently is the biggest thing when it comes to how do you compete with Xbox? Because Xbox now has been around for so long with Game Pass and 25 million users. Like that didn't happen overnight. I remember when it first launched, people were like, this is a joke. And now look at it. It's no joke. That is a viable live breathing platform that people go to just for their games and not having to worry about, okay, I can test out this game, get into it and go, I don't really like it. So I'll delete it and then move on to the next one. Then you experience something that you've never experienced before. I think that's what PlayStation has to showcase. Here's some of the indie titles that you won't get over on Game Pass.
I think PlayStation could capitalize on a lot of their in-house development. They're kind of first party. A lot of the Japanese developers are only on PlayStation. And those are kind of games that you or I or Western-based audiences might look at and think, well, I don't know if I like Neo 2. That's one that comes to mind. If you could try Neo 2 and then go, no, never mind. That saves you a lot of trouble. And that might be a very common recurring thing with our market.
Yep, absolutely. Like, well, there's Scarlet Nexus right over on Game Pass. I would not buy that game. We reviewed that for the show. I believe it was Scott and Steve who reviewed that, so you can always go check out our review. But besides that, like, I wouldn't try it out unless it was on Game Pass, because I'm not going to go drop the money knowing that's not really my genre of expertise.
Yeah, for sure.
Not my preferred genre to play in the first place. But it did pique my interest, right? It has piqued my interest. So I'm like, ooh, it's on Game Pass. Damn, I'll go give that a shot now, right? And maybe it hooks me and I'm in there. I'm like, man, I found something new to play. I think that's what PlayStation needs to focus on, is broadening their reach. They have so many consoles out there now. They have 17 million consoles, PS5s around the world, over 110 million PS4s around. Like, man, that's a service you can tap into, and it shouldn't be too hard. Don't overprice yourself. Come in at low, get people in there, give them a discount to get started for the first 6 months. Like, here's Spartacus for 10, 15 bucks, 10 bucks, 10 bucks, man. Like, who wouldn't jump on that for 10 bucks? And we're launching with 100 games. Done.
If they did some sort of a pilot program, I just think of myself, of course, with achievements. If Xbox had approached and said, okay, well, you have 250,000 gamer score, here's 2 months, try it out.
Yeah.
Then you could do that with PlayStation, the equivalent being trophies. You can do that.
I love the trophies.
That would work out just fine.
Sony doesn't do anything like that, though.
Trophies the same way as achievements.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a trophy or achievement hunter. I don't have time for that. But man, when you pop that platinum, there's nothing like it. I've done it with every Trine game so far, and I'm about to do it with Trine 4. It is fantastic. It's just kind of like getting the rare achievement on Xbox.
My ringtone is the achievement, or was the achievement noise all through high school. I know that feeling very well. When you beat Mile High Club on Call of Duty 4 for the first time on Veteran, and it ping. Oh, yeah. I'm just still waiting for Nintendo's checklist.
Oh man,
things you did well.
They have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. Isn't that baffling? After all these years of having trophies and achievements, Nintendo still has nothing to come to the table with.
The only thing,
so behind their online too. It's just...
the only thing that Nintendo, like, their incentive program is if you buy a game on like their store. So say the game's $50 or something. They give you 50 tokens, which you can eventually use to purchase a game. That's all they do.
Yeah, it's the token amount, I think, is worth about 1/10 of the.
Yeah, exactly. It's like going to Tim Hortons and using your card.
Yeah.
7 visits, you get a free coffee. Oh, thank you, Tim Hortons.
Oh, I never messed with the card. I don't know about you guys, but that card spent all of 10 minutes in my wallet.
It's now an app on my phone.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we're going. We're headed. Everything's headed to the digital age, and like, my breed is dying out. Like, physical media is dying out. That's why it's for me, it's important because it's like when that inevitable crash happens, because it's happened many times. Like the PS5, no, I probably, even though I have physical media, you still need the internet to run it. But up until about halfway through the PS3 era, like if I want to play a game, I'll go back to physical. Like I might not be able to update my system anymore, but I don't know. It's just and I mean, for like I've always been a physical media. Like you've said it on your show. Like my collection's not nearly what it used to be. I had to really consider if I would ever play half of them. So I had to pare down, and it was I every once in a while I still think like seller's remorse, but
I cleared off half of the inventory that was leaving GameStop in the 360 era. As soon as that went, downsized to a smaller shelf, I ended up cleaning up most of it. So I definitely agree with you on the physical medium side, but at a certain point, it almost doesn't.
Space.
It almost doesn't matter eventually, though, because that CMOS chip is only going to last so long, and that's just the reality of.
I'm a figure.
I think we lost him.
Instead of the
Oh, that's why you like trophies so much.
Yeah, I like to be able to not have to worry about getting up and inserting another disc. I'd really enjoy.
I really want a Titanfall.
I know, dude.
Was that you that was telling me about?
Nate's got one. It's so cool. It is huge. It is so big. It needs like its own shelf space, like its own dedicated shelf.
I'm massive. Jealous of him for that, and I'm jealous of you for that Chief helmet in the back right there.
Yeah, I got a Chief helmet from our friends over at Xbox the other day. Really
if I had that,
shout out to them.
If I had that helmet, it would have solved me a lot of issue last year.
True enough.
Or it would have just been a really funny news clip.
Jesus.
Welcome to working with Scott, buddy.
Yeah, sorry guys. It was the biggest event in my life.
Like you just very CTV News Barry, and in other news, Master Chief was found lying on the side of the road.
Chief, what are you doing? Yeah, the missions change. They always do.
So I think we'll wrap it up here. I know, Drew, you said you had some other stuff to take care of, so I appreciate you guys coming on. Yeah. Was there anything you guys wanted to add last minute, like anything on the subject we talked about, or anything like that speaks to that?
I just honestly, I think don't be so worried. I think that's the biggest thing, right? I think obviously you don't spend $68 billion just to give away all your IP. So if you're a PlayStation fan, you do have some worries ahead of you as far as being a Call of Duty player, right? I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to that. But overall, it's the industry. And how do you beat out your competition? You buy them up. And that's kind of where Xbox is. But yeah, you worry about the monopoly issue of it? It's starting to kind of be a little concerning, honestly, right? We saw Bungie just now move over to PlayStation. So who else? And PlayStation's not done. So where's that leave AAA third-party studios? That is what concerns me. Indies are thriving. I think indies are fantastic, but when you get into the Assassin's Creeds and like the Watch Dogs and the other, bigger titles when it comes to third-party developers, we're losing them. We're starting to lose them, and that's a little concerning to me.
I feel much more optimistic about it. I get the concerns about monopoly, but even at that scenario, I still see kind of a silver lining. Because the indie developers will carry us through whatever weird, tumultuous time that has. But I see it being a good thing. If Call of Duty gets locked behind Xbox, if Destiny is only on PlayStation, then it kind of forces the competitor to come out with their own version. Do you remember in the early 2000s, the amount of times Halo Killer was used?
Yes.
I laughed at the thought. But nowadays, I look at it and I think, okay, well, Resistance, where's Resistance? Where's Haze? Whatever happened to that? Killzone's gone. So even if all these games get
Time Splitters
only, that's a good one. But even if these get pulled and split up from each other, it might bring out more competitive spaces within subgenres, and that's something that's good for the gamer, I think.
That's awesome. So just to wrap up, drop your predictions on studio acquisitions, just so then we have that to finish.
Yeah, definitely for me, I think it's Quantic Dream. I think that makes a ton of sense. They've always been a second party studio, but never owned by PlayStation. So here's their opportunity to do that. And if they don't do that, my God, just get Konami.
I'm gonna think PlayStation would grab From Software at a huge advantage, and I think that would be a really good one. But my throwing it out there, far-fetched idea, because I always have one. What if Xbox picked up Guerrilla Games?
That's owned by PlayStation. They can't do that. That's not going to happen. They're going to buy up a PlayStation studio.
some backdoor deal.
You just want Horizon Forbidden West on Xbox.
I do.
I got to agree with Drew. I was gonna say Quantic Dream. Far left field there would probably be Capcom, or even Crytek.
Crytek's an interesting one. Yeah.
It just that whole thing about them announcing the game with no systems on it just kind of is like, okay, that's weird.
You could be a hint.
So, but I guess we'll see. Like, okay, and then just lastly, when do you think we will get another announcement? It's coming. It's got to be in the next couple weeks.
I was gonna say you probably give it about 6 weeks. 6 weeks, we'll see something else.
Yeah, I would suspect very, very similar. In the middle of March, perhaps they'll come out with more announcements. But as PlayStation said, they're only getting started.
And then, let's get a real state of play, not a half an hour tech demo for GT7.
Man, I didn't understand it being your first one of the year. Right? That's the thing. We didn't get one in January. Really, not January at all. We get into February. This is your first one for PlayStation fans to see what's on the horizon for no pun intended there. But what's on the horizon for PlayStation fans, right? And then it's a half-hour tech demo of GT7. And not all of us are big fans of racing games. So you've lost a lot of people on that one. It was just weird to me.
Awesome. Drop your socials. Go for it. Now's the time.
Well, you can always find me over on Twitter at ArtisticGamer28. You can always follow us, the whole team, over at the official ITG on Twitter. And just a quick announcement, we'll be live streaming Horizon Forbidden West on February 17th on our socials and TV streaming networks. And you could actually enter in the competition to win a copy of the game.
I'm going to be entering that.
That's actually really exciting. And I'm going to be sitting along. I don't have it, unfortunately, but I'll be enjoying it from a distance. But no, if anybody has any game challenges, any comments at all, or criticisms even, you can always get to me on Twitter. I would like Brad, if you don't mind.
Do it.
All right. So you can find him on Twitter at Savage. That was like my voice just went up. I was like, oh, I'm on the spot there. But Savage. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, guys. I've got another video dropping. I actually did some pretty not bad pickups today at Walmart, one of them being a new title that they really dropped the ball on price-wise. So that was nice. That was really nice, considering I got jerked around on my Xbox controller. And then that video will come out probably tomorrow or on the weekend. So
you got to go work up your anger for filming.
Yeah, rage quitting, just throwing the controller across the room. Oh. It doesn't work.
That is funny.
So, all right. Well, thanks again. Take care. And as Svenny McGee would always say, be kind to each other.